Hashtag the Zarathian invasion. Captain Sarah Chun pressed her face against the observation window of Earth's orbital defense station, watching the massive alien fleet emerge from the swirling vortex of hyperspace. The ships were unlike anything humanity had ever seen, sleek, crystalline vessels that seemed to bend light around their hulls, creating an almost hypnotic shimmer effect. Each ship was easily 3 times the size of Earth's largest battlecruisers. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission," communications officer Riley announced from his station, his voice barely steady. The young man had been part of the Defense Corps for only 6 months, and this was his first encounter with hostile alien life. "Put it through," Chun ordered, her jaw set with determination. She had spent 20 years climbing the ranks of Earth's Space Defense Force, and she wasn't about to let fear cloud her judgment now. The main screen flickered to life, revealing a towering figure that made even the most hardened soldiers in the room take an involuntary step backward. The Zarathian commander stood nearly 9 feet tall, with 4 arms ending in razor-sharp claws. Its skin appeared to be made of overlapping metallic plates that gleamed with an inner light. Most unsettling were its eyes, 6 of them, arranged in pairs down its elongated skull, each one glowing with an eerie blue radiance. Primitive inhabitants of the 3rd planet, the alien's voice boomed through the speakers, each word dripping with contempt. "I am Commander Vexthal of the Zarathian Empire. Your species has been deemed suitable for harvest. Surrender now, and your deaths will be swift." Chun stepped forward, her hands clasped behind her back in a show of military bearing. "This is Captain Sarah Chun of the Earth Defense Force. We will not surrender our world to invaders. Leave our system immediately or face the consequences." The alien's mandibles clicked in what might have been laughter. "Consequences? Your pathetic metal ships pose no threat to us. Our armor is forged from condensed neutron matter, harder than any substance in your galaxy. Your primitive weapons cannot even scratch our hulls." As if to demonstrate, Vexthal gestured to one of his subordinates, who held up what appeared to be a sample of their armor plating. The material seemed to absorb light itself, creating a void-like surface that hurt to look at directly. "This plating has withstood the fury of dying stars and the gravitational pull of black holes. What could your species possibly possess that would threaten us?" Chen's expression never wavered. "You'd be surprised what humans can accomplish when we put our minds to it." The alien commander's 6 eyes narrowed simultaneously. "Your bravado is amusing but futile. We have conquered 17 star systems, enslaved 43 species, and harvested the resources of countless worlds. Each civilization we encountered claimed they would resist. Each one fell within hours of our arrival." Behind Chun, her tactical officer Lieutenant Martinez was furiously working at his console, analyzing the alien fleet's formation and capabilities. The readings were not encouraging. The enemy ship's energy signatures were off the charts, and their defensive capabilities seemed to dwarf anything in Earth's arsenal. "You have one of your planetary rotations to consider our offer," Vexthal continued. "After that, we will begin the harvesting process. Your cities will burn, your oceans will boil, and your people will serve the Empire in ways your limited minds cannot comprehend." The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving the command center in tense silence. Chen turned to address her crew, noting the fear in their eyes, but also something else, determination. These men and women had trained their entire careers for this moment, even if they had never truly believed it would come. "Lieutenant Martinez, what's our tactical assessment?" she asked. Martinez looked up from his console, his face grim. "It's not good, Captain. Their ships are generating energy readings we've never seen before. Our standard plasma cannons and missile systems would be like throwing rocks at a mountain." "What about our experimental weapons program?" Chun inquired. "The kinetic bombardment project? The railguns?" "Captain, those are still in prototype phase. We've only tested them on asteroids and derelict ships, against armor that's sophisticated." Martinez shook his head doubtfully. Chun walked over to the tactical display, studying the alien fleet's positioning. They had arranged themselves in a perfect sphere around Earth, cutting off all escape routes. It was a formation designed to instill fear and demonstrate overwhelming superiority. But Chun had learned something important during her years of service. Overconfidence was often an enemy's greatest weakness. "Get me Admiral Harrison on priority channel," she ordered, and sent a message to all defense stations and planetary installations. "Tell them to begin preparations for Operation Last Stand." As her crew rushed to carry out her orders, Chen allowed herself one moment of doubt. The aliens were right about one thing. Humanity had never faced anything like this before. Their technology was clearly superior, their numbers overwhelming, and their armor apparently impenetrable. But they had made one crucial mistake in their assessment of human nature. They had underestimated what desperate people could accomplish when fighting for their home. Hashtag the human response deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, in a facility that officially didn't exist. Dr. Elena Vasquez stared at the readings on her computer screen with growing excitement. The underground laboratory hummed with activity as scientists and engineers worked frantically to analyze the alien transmission data that had been intercepted during the exchange with Commander Vexthal. "This is incredible," she muttered to herself, adjusting her glasses as she studied the spectral analysis of the Zorathian armor sample. Her colleague, Dr. James Wong, looked up from his own workstation with exhaustion evident in his eyes. "What have you found, Elena?" Wong asked, abandoning his calculations to peer over her shoulder. The two scientists had been working nonstop for the past 18 hours since the alien ultimatum was delivered. "Look at this molecular structure." Vasquez pointed to a complex, three-dimensional model rotating on her screen. They weren't lying about the neutron matter. "This armor is incredibly dense, probably weighs several tons per square inch. But there's something else here, something they might not even realize." Wong squinted at the display, trying to follow her reasoning. "What am I looking at? See these resonance patterns? The neutron matter isn't just compressed. It's held together by some kind of quantum field generator. That's how they keep it stable without it collapsing into a black hole." Vasquez's fingers flew across her keyboard, bringing up additional data streams. "But every quantum field has a harmonic frequency, and if you can match that frequency, the field destabilizes," Wong finished, his eyes widening with understanding. "But, Elena, the energy requirements to generate that kind of harmonic resonance would be enormous. We don't have technology capable of— Actually, we might," Vasquez interrupted, pulling up another file. "Remember Project Thunderbolt? The kinetic bombardment system they've been developing? Those railguns don't just fire projectiles. They accelerate them using controlled magnetic fields. If we could modulate those fields to match the armor's quantum frequency." Meanwhile, 3 levels above them, Admiral Harrison was conducting the largest war council in human history via quantum-encrypted communications. Military leaders from every nation on Earth appeared as holograms around the massive conference table, their faces showing mixtures of fear, determination, and grim resolve. "The situation is clear," Harrison began, his weathered face illuminated by the blue glow of the tactical displays surrounding them. "We have less than 22 hours before the alien fleet begins their attack. Our conventional weapons are useless against their armor technology. We need alternatives." General Morrison from the European Defense Coalition leaned forward in his chair. "What about nuclear weapons? Surely even their advanced armor can't withstand a direct nuclear strike." "We've run the calculations," replied Dr. Sarah Kim from the Pacific Defense Research Institute, who was participating remotely from her laboratory in Seoul. "Their neutron matter armor would absorb and dissipate nuclear energy like a sponge. We might as well be throwing fireworks at them." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity's most devastating weapons were essentially useless against this threat. Admiral Harrison was about to speak when his communication officer approached with an urgent message. "Sir, we're receiving a priority transmission from Deep Lab 7. Dr. Vasquez says she may have found something." Harrison nodded grimly. "Put her through." "DR." Vasquez appeared as a hologram at the table, her hair disheveled from hours of intense work, but her eyes bright with possibility. "Admiral, we've discovered a potential weakness in their armor system. The neutron matter is stabilized by quantum field generators. If we can disrupt those fields—" "Speak plainly, Doctor," Harrison interrupted. "We don't have time for technical lectures. Our rail guns might be able to penetrate their armor, but not in the way you'd expect. Instead of trying to punch through the neutron matter directly, we need to fire projectiles that vibrate at specific frequencies. These vibrations could destabilize the quantum fields holding the armor together. General Chun from the Asian Defense Network looked skeptical. Doctor, our railgun prototypes have never been tested in actual combat. Are you seriously suggesting we bet humanity's survival on untested technology? With respect, General, Vasquez replied, we're already betting humanity's survival. The question is whether we want to bet on something that definitely won't work or something that might. Admiral Harrison studied the faces around the table. Each leader represented billions of people who were looking to them for protection. The weight of that responsibility was crushing, but it also clarified his thinking. Dr. Vasquez, how long would it take to modify our railgun systems? If we work around the clock and redirect every available resource, we could have the frequency modulators installed within 20 hours. That only gives us 2 hours to test the modifications, observed Admiral Reyes from the South American Coalition. Then, we test them on the enemy, Harrison declared. Doctor, you have whatever resources you need. Strip every facility, conscript every engineer, and get those modifications installed. Meanwhile, I want every ship in the fleet equipped with railgun systems, even if we have to weld them on manually. As the council dispersed to coordinate the massive undertaking, Captain Chun received new orders at her orbital defense station. Her crew worked with desperate efficiency, installing the hastily modified railgun systems alongside their existing weapons. The modifications looked crude and improvised. Cables ran along the outside of the ship's hull, connecting hastily installed frequency generators to the railgun systems. Captain, I have to ask, Lieutenant Martinez said as they watched engineering teams scrambling over their ship's exterior. Do we really think this is going to work? Shin looked out at the alien fleet, still maintaining their perfect spherical formation around Earth. Their ships continued to shimmer with that unsettling light-bending effect, a constant reminder of their technological superiority. Lieutenant, 6 months ago, most of us didn't even believe aliens existed. Now we're preparing to fight an interstellar empire with modified mining equipment. That doesn't exactly inspire confidence, sir. No, but it does remind us of something important, Chen replied. Humans have a long history of taking whatever tools we have available and using them in ways their designers never intended. Sometimes, the most effective solutions come from the most unexpected places. As the deadline approached, every human facility in the solar system worked with single-minded purpose. The modifications were crude, untested, and theoretically based on the analysis of a single brief transmission. By every reasonable measure, humanity was about to attempt the impossible. But, as Dr. Vasquez had pointed out, they were already betting everything. The only question was whether they would bet on certain failure or possible success. #First Contact, the 24-hour deadline, expired with the cold indifference of atomic clocks counting down to humanity's judgment day. Across Earth's orbital defense network, crews waited at battle stations while their hastily modified railgun systems hummed with untested energy. The alien fleet had remained motionless during the entire preparation period, their crystalline ships maintaining perfect formation like predators toying with cornered prey. Commander Vexthal materialized once again on the communication screens of every Earth facility simultaneously. His 6 eyes showed no emotion as he surveyed the human defenders with the detached interest of an exterminator evaluating an infestation. Your time has expired, primitive ones. His voice echoed through every speaker system. We offered you swift death. You have chosen prolonged suffering instead. So be it. The first Zarathian ship moved with fluid grace despite its massive size, breaking formation and gliding toward Earth's primary orbital defense station. Captain Chin watched through her viewport as the alien vessel approached, its hull rippling with energies that human sensors couldn't properly categorize. The ship was beautiful in a terrifying way, like watching a natural disaster unfold in slow motion. All stations, this is Admiral Harrison, came the voice over the fleet-wide communication network. Remember, we only get one chance at this. Wait for my signal, and may whatever gods you believe in be with us all. The Zarathian ship stopped exactly 1,000 kilometers from Chen Station and began charging what appeared to be its primary weapon system. Energy readings spiked across human monitoring equipment as a massive cannon emerged from the alien vessel's crystalline hull. The weapon was the size of a city block, and it began to glow with the same unsettling blue radiance that characterized Zarathian technology. Captain, their weapon system is generating energy readings equivalent to a small star, reported Lieutenant Martinez, his voice tight with barely controlled fear. Whatever they're about to hit us with, our shields won't even slow it down. Chen nodded grimly. Earth's deflector shields were designed to handle meteor impacts and solar radiation, not weapons capable of vaporizing planets. All hands, prepare for impact. And remember, if this doesn't work, make sure the folks back home know we didn't go down without a fight. The alien weapon reached full charge, and space itself seemed to hold its breath. Then, Commander Vexthal's voice boomed across all frequencies. Witness the power of the Zarathian Empire. Your pathetic shields will crumble, your hull will melt, and your crew will have exactly enough time to contemplate their species' arrogance before they die. The massive energy beam lanced out from the alien ship, a column of pure destruction that turned the vacuum of space incandescent. Chen's entire crew instinctively braced for impact, knowing their shields would fail within seconds of contact. The beam struck their deflector array with the force of a stellar explosion, and absolutely nothing happened. The energy beam struck the shields and simply stopped. It didn't penetrate, it didn't cause overload failures, it didn't even create visible stress patterns on the deflector grid. The beam struck the shields and dissipated harmlessly into space, as if it were nothing more than a bright flashlight. For a moment, complete silence filled both the human defense station and the alien ship. Chen stared at her tactical displays in disbelief, while her crew exchanged shocked glances. The energy readings showed that the shields hadn't even registered the impact. What? How is this possible? Commander Vexthal's voice carried a note of confusion that hadn't been there before. Our plasma cannons can shatter moons. No known material can withstand that energy output. Dr. Vasquez's voice crackled over the communication system from Deep Lab 7. Captain Shun, are you reading this? The alien weapons are generating enormous amounts of energy, but it's all in frequencies designed to disrupt neutron matter. Their entire weapons technology is optimized for fighting enemies with armor similar to their own. The implications hit Shun like a physical blow. You mean their weapons are useless against materials that aren't neutron matter-based? Exactly. It's like trying to use a tuning fork to break down a brick wall. All that energy is being generated at frequencies that have no effect on conventional matter. Their weapons aren't designed to fight primitive civilizations. They're designed to fight other advanced species with technology similar to their own. Admiral Harrison's voice cut through the revelation. All ships, execute attack pattern Delta. Time to test our modifications. Chun turned to her weapons officer. Lieutenant Rodriguez, target the alien ship's central hull section. Frequency modulators to maximum, and prepare to fire. Sir, projectile loaded and railgun charged. Targeting solution locked. The human railgun was a crude thing compared to Zarathian technology, essentially a magnetic accelerator that fired dense metal projectiles at significant fractions of light speed. But Dr. Vasquez's modifications had turned it into something entirely different. Instead of simply hurling metal at the target, the modified system generated complex harmonic frequencies that would theoretically destabilize quantum field structures. Fire, Chun ordered. The railgun discharged with a sound like thunder, sending its projectile screaming through space toward the alien ship. The projectile itself was unremarkable, a tungsten rod about the size of a baseball, traveling at roughly 10% of light speed. What made it special were the quantum frequencies it generated as it flew. The projectile struck the Zarathian ship's hull, and something extraordinary happened. The neutron matter armor, which had been described as harder than any known substance, simply cracked. The quantum fields holding the neutron matter in stable configuration collapsed in a cascade failure that spread outward from the impact point like a spider web of destruction. Within seconds, a section of the alien ship's hull the size of a football field had reverted from neutron matter to ordinary atomic matter. The sudden change in density created massive structural failures throughout the ship as support systems designed for neutron matter tried to accommodate materials that were suddenly millions of times less dense. Direct hit, Lieutenant Rodriguez shouted. Their armor is failing across multiple sections. Commander Vexthal's image appeared on screen again, but his composed demeanor had vanished entirely. Behind him, Zarathian crew members were running frantically between control stations as damage reports flooded in. Impossible. Our armor has never failed. Your primitive weapons cannot possibly. Admiral Harrison to all ships. The fleet-wide communication crackled to life. Target confirmed vulnerable. All units, fire at will. Across human space, dozens of modified rail guns opened fire simultaneously. Each projectile was a messenger of quantum destruction, carrying frequencies that turned the galaxy's most advanced armor technology into a liability. The Zarathian ships, designed to be impervious to conventional attacks, found themselves helpless against weapons that attacked the very foundations of their defensive systems. The first alien ship began to come apart as its structural integrity failed. Massive sections of hull peeled away like old paint, revealing the complex internal systems that had been hidden beneath layers of neutron matter armor. Emergency lights flickered throughout the alien vessel as it slowly began to list to one side. Commander Vexthal stared at the tactical displays in disbelief, his 6 eyes wide with an emotion his species rarely experienced: fear. #The Tide turns the destruction of the first Zarathian ship sent shockwaves through both fleets, but for entirely different reasons. Human crews cheered and embraced as they watched the massive alien vessel break apart, its pieces tumbling through space like the fragments of a shattered monument. For the Zarathians, however, the sight represented something that violated their fundamental understanding of the universe. Commander Vexthal stood frozen on his command bridge, his 4 arms hanging limply at his sides as he stared at the debris field that had once been the pride of the Zarathian fleet. Around him, his crew scrambled to recalibrate their defensive systems and analyze the human weapons, but their voices seemed to come from very far away. "Commander, the humans are launching more projectiles," reported his tactical officer, Subcommander Keldar. 17 ships are under direct fire. "Ow!" Vexthal whispered, his voice barely audible above the chaos of the command center. "How are their primitive kinetic weapons penetrating neutron matter armor?" From Deep Lab 7, Dr. Vasquez was frantically coordinating the ongoing attack while monitoring the aliens' responses. Her fingers flew across multiple keyboards as she tracked the quantum frequencies being generated by each human railgun and adjusted them in real time to maximize effectiveness. "Admiral Harrison, I'm reading massive quantum field fluctuations across their entire fleet," she reported. "The armor failures are cascading between ships. I think their vessels are somehow networked together at the quantum level." Admiral Harrison's voice carried a note of grim satisfaction as he responded from the command ship. "Explain what that means for our tactical situation, Doctor." "It means that every time we destabilize the armor on one ship, it creates resonance effects in nearby vessels. We're not just damaging individual ships, we're disrupting their entire fleet's defensive network." The tactical implications were staggering. The Zarathians had designed their fleet to be an interconnected whole, with each ship's defensive system supporting and reinforcing the others. It was a brilliant strategy when facing enemies with conventional weapons, as it created overlapping fields of protection that were virtually impenetrable. But when facing weapons that attacked the fundamental quantum structure of their defenses, that same interconnection became a critical weakness. Captain Chen watched from her command station as the human fleet pressed their unexpected advantage. Every railgun in the defense network was firing continuously now, sending streams of quantum-disrupted projectiles toward the alien formation. The Zarathian ships, designed for elegant coordinated movement, found themselves scattered and defensive as their perfect sphere collapsed into chaos. "Lieutenant Martinez, what's the status of the alien fleet?" Chen asked. 17 ships have suffered major hull breaches, sir. 5 have lost main power. 3 are showing signs of total structural failure." Martinez paused, studying his readings more carefully. "Captain, I don't think they know how to respond to this. Their tactical formation suggests they've never encountered weapons that could penetrate their armor." Chen nodded thoughtfully. The Zarathians had conquered 17 star systems and enslaved 43 species, but apparently none of those civilizations had possessed the combination of primitive technology and desperate ingenuity that characterized humanity's response. They had built an empire based on the assumption that their armor was impenetrable, and that assumption had just been shattered along with their ships. On the Zarathian command vessel, Commander Vexthal was experiencing something his species had no word for: tactical bewilderment. Every strategy in their military doctrine was based on the principle of overwhelming technological superiority. When that superiority was suddenly neutralized, they had no backup plans. "Sub-Commander Keldar," he said finally, his voice regaining some of its former authority. "Withdraw the fleet to maximum range, and prepare our planetary bombardment weapons. If it cannot protect our ships, we will destroy their world from a distance." "Yes, Commander. But, sir, our bombardment weapons use the same plasma technology as our ship-to-ship weapons. If their shields can stop our main guns..." Vexthal's mandibles clicked in frustration. "Then, we will use kinetic bombardment, accelerate asteroids from their system's outer belt, and hurl them at the planet. Even these humans cannot shield against the impact of moon-sized rocks." The Zarathian fleet began to withdraw, their crystalline ships accelerating away from Earth toward the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. It was a tactical retreat, but also a desperate escalation. If they couldn't defeat the human fleet directly, they would simply destroy the planet and everyone on it. Dr. Vasquez detected the fleet movement almost immediately. "Admiral, the aliens are withdrawing to the asteroid belt. Long-range sensors are picking up massive gravitational manipulation fields near the larger asteroids. They're planning to throw rocks at us," Admiral Harrison concluded grimly. "How long until they can redirect asteroids toward Earth?" "Based on their current energy output, approximately 6 hours for the smaller ones, 12 hours for anything large enough to cause an extinction-level event." The human fleet found itself in a paradoxical situation. They had successfully repelled the immediate alien attack and proven that their enemies weren't invulnerable, but now faced an even greater threat. Asteroids traveling at significant fractions of light speed would impact Earth with the force of hundreds of nuclear weapons, and there would be no way to stop them once they were launched. "All ships pursue the alien fleet," Harrison ordered. "We cannot allow them to establish a bombardment position in the asteroid belt." Captain Chen's ship was among the first to break orbit, racing through space toward the retreating Zarathian vessels. The human fleet was smaller and less advanced than their opponents, but they now possessed something they had lacked at the beginning of the engagement: confidence. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the alien commander," Communications Officer Riley reported. "Put it through." Commander Vexthal appeared on screen, but the composed arrogance from their first encounter had been replaced by something much more dangerous: cold fury. "Your species has proven more resourceful than anticipated," he said, his 6 eyes blazing with hatred. "But resourcefulness will not save you from what comes next. We will drag asteroids from the void and hurl them at your world until its surface is molten glass." Chun stepped forward, her expression calm despite the threat. "Commander, you're making the same mistake you made when you arrived. You're underestimating what humans can accomplish when we're fighting for our survival. Your bravado is meaningless. You may have found a way to damage our armor, but you cannot stop gravitational manipulation on a stellar scale. Your homeworld will burn." The transmission ended, leaving Chen's bridge in tense silence. They had won the first engagement, but the war was far from over. In fact, the aliens' next strategy might be impossible to counter with modified railguns and desperate ingenuity. But as Chun watched her fleet racing through space toward the asteroid belt, she reflected on something Dr. Vasquez had said during the first planning session. Sometimes the most effective solutions came from the most unexpected places. Humanity had already proven that advanced technology wasn't invincible when faced with the right kind of primitive cunning. Now they just had to prove it again, with the survival of their species hanging in the balance. #victory from the ashes. The asteroid belt became a battlefield unlike anything the galaxy had ever witnessed. Massive Zarathian ships maneuvered between tumbling rocks the size of small moons, their gravitational manipulation fields reaching out to grab potential projectiles. Meanwhile, the human fleet weaved through the same field of debris, their modified railguns firing continuously at any alien vessel that came within range. Dr. Vasquez had relocated her entire operation to Admiral Harrison's command ship, turning the vessel's science bay into an improvised weapons laboratory. Around her, teams of engineers worked frantically to enhance the railgun modifications based on real combat data. Admiral, I've been analyzing the gravitational fields the aliens are using to move asteroids, she reported, looking up from her displays with exhaustion and excitement warring in her eyes. Their technology creates localized distortions in space-time itself. But there's something interesting about the field generators. I need practical applications. Doctor, not theoretical physics, Harrison replied tersely, watching as another human destroyer engaged a Zorathian vessel near a massive asteroid cluster. That's just it, sir. The practical application is incredible. Their gravitational manipulation technology uses the same quantum field principles as their armor. If we can disrupt the fields. Harrison turned to stare at her. You're saying our railguns can interfere with their ability to move asteroids. Not just interfere, completely disrupt. If we can hit their gravitational generators with the right frequency modulation, their field projectors will destabilize, just like their armor did. Captain Chen's voice crackled over the communication system from her position near the belt's outer edge. Admiral, we're seeing massive energy buildups around 3 separate asteroid clusters. The aliens are preparing to launch simultaneous bombardments. Through the viewports of the command ship, they could see the alien strategy unfolding. 3 of the largest Zorathian vessels had positioned themselves near asteroids roughly the size of Manhattan, their gravitational fields slowly accelerating the massive rocks toward Earth. The mathematics were terrifyingly simple. Even if the human fleet destroyed the alien ships, the asteroids would continue on their trajectories and impact Earth with enough force to crack continents. Dr. Vasquez, how quickly can you modify our targeting systems to lock onto their gravitational generators? Harrison asked. The generators are located at the base of their gravitational projection arrays. I can have targeting solutions uploaded to all ships within 10 minutes. Do it. All ships, prepare for coordinated strike on alien gravitational systems. We have one chance to stop this bombardment. As the human fleet raced toward their targets, Commander Vexthal stood on his bridge watching the progress of the asteroid acceleration. His ship's gravitational generators were operating at maximum capacity, slowly building the velocity that would turn the asteroid into a planet-killing weapon. Subcommander Keldar, status report on the human fleet, he ordered. They are approaching our position, but maintaining distance beyond effective weapons range. It appears they intend to harass us while we complete the bombardment sequence. Vexthal's mandibles clicked with satisfaction. Let them. Their primitive weapons cannot threaten our gravitational generators, and once the asteroids reach critical velocity, nothing can stop them. It was exactly the kind of overconfidence that had already cost the Zorathians dearly, but Vexthal was too focused on revenge to recognize the pattern. His species had spent so long as the apex predator of the galaxy that they had forgotten how to adapt when faced with unexpected opposition. All ships, execute targeting solution Omega, Harrison commanded. Fire on my mark. The human fleet opened fire with perfect coordination, their modified railguns sending quantum-disrupted projectiles toward the gravitational generation arrays on each alien vessel. The projectiles streaked through space, their harmonic frequencies carefully tuned to disrupt the quantum fields that enabled gravitational manipulation. The first projectile struck the primary gravitational generator on Vexthal's ship, and the results were catastrophic. The quantum field collapse didn't just disable the gravitational manipulation, it created a feedback loop that overloaded every gravitational system on the ship. Emergency alarms blared throughout the alien vessel as gravitational fields fluctuated wildly, creating localized zones where gravity was either non-existent or crushing. What is happening? Vexthal demanded, struggling to maintain his footing as the ship's artificial gravity failed in sections. Commander, our gravitational systems are failing across all decks, Keldar reported. The human weapons have somehow disrupted our field generators. The asteroid that had been accelerating toward Earth suddenly found itself free of the alien gravitational control. Instead of continuing toward the planet, it began to tumble chaotically through space as competing gravitational forces from the Sun, Jupiter, and Mars pulled it in different directions. The same scene played out across all three bombardment positions. Human rail guns disabled alien gravitational systems with surgical precision, leaving massive asteroids drifting harmlessly in the void. The Zarathian planet killer strategy had been neutralized by the same primitive weapons that had already proven capable of penetrating their invincible armor. "This is impossible," Vexthal whispered, staring at his tactical displays in disbelief. "No species should be capable of." His words were cut off as another railgun projectile struck his ship's main power core. The quantum field disruption cascaded through every system on the vessel, shutting down life support, propulsion, and weapons simultaneously. Similar failures were occurring throughout the Zarathian fleet as human weapons found and exploited weaknesses that their designers had never imagined. Captain Chun watched from her ship as the alien fleet began to break apart, not from direct destruction, but from catastrophic system failures. "Admiral Harrison, I'm reading massive power failures across the entire enemy fleet. Their ships appear to be shutting down." Confirmed from all positions came reports from other human vessels. "The alien fleet is dead in space." Dr. Vasquez looked at her readings with something approaching awe. "Admiral, I don't think they can repair these failures. Our weapons didn't just damage their systems. They fundamentally altered the quantum structure of their technology. It's like we've changed the laws of physics that their equipment operates under." On his dying ship, Commander Vexthal activated one final transmission to the human fleet. His image appeared on screens throughout the human vessels, but gone was any trace of the arrogance and superiority that had characterized their first encounter. "Humans of Earth," he said, his voice carrying a note of something that might have been respect. "We have underestimated your species. The Zarathian Empire has conquered civilizations far more advanced than yours, but none have proven as adaptable." Admiral Harrison stepped forward to respond. "Commander, this didn't have to happen. We offered you the chance to leave our system peacefully. Yes, you did. And perhaps that is the greatest lesson your species has taught us today." Vexthal paused, looking around at his disabled ship. "We came here expecting to find primitive beings with primitive weapons. Instead, we found something far more dangerous. Primitive beings with extraordinary ingenuity." The transmission ended as the Zarathian commander's ship lost all power. Across the asteroid belt, alien vessels drifted silently through space, their crews stranded aboard ships that had become technological coffins. The mighty Zarathian fleet had been defeated not by superior firepower or advanced technology, but by humans who had refused to accept that their situation was hopeless. In the aftermath, as rescue operations began and the immediate threat to Earth was neutralized, Dr. Vasquez found herself standing beside Admiral Harrison on the command ship's observation deck. They watched as human vessels moved through the asteroid belt, securing disabled alien ships and preparing for the long process of helping stranded crews. "Doctor," Harrison said finally, "I have to ask, did you really think this would work when you first proposed it?" Vasquez was quiet for a long moment before answering. "Honestly, Admiral, I thought we were all going to die. But I also thought that if we were going to die anyway, we might as well die trying something impossible." Harrison nodded slowly. "And that, Doctor, might be the most human thing anyone has said throughout this entire crisis." As Earth's sun rose over the asteroid belt, illuminating the debris field that had once been humanity's greatest threat, the victory belonged not to superior technology or overwhelming force, but to the simple human refusal to give up when faced with impossible odds. It was, perhaps, the most human victory of all.